robust and flexible. So the MARWIS device itself is no moving parts. It's very, we just had someone ask us yesterday, Laura and I, how long can we expect these to last? And the truth is, we've had them out for about 4 years, and the first ones that were on the road, we haven't had any issues with. So we came back at them with, minimum 5 years, but could be 10, 15. I mean, they're built very durable, very reliable, and we've had very few issues with hundreds of these things out on the road. Very efficient and consistent, so it's going to help you to optimize a lot of your weather stuff. So here's an image on. This is just kind of, we have 2 different versions of MARWIS. Okay. They're the same price, and they're a 1 meter version, which you see down here, and a 2 meter. That's just based on the way that the optics are and the LEDs are that help get the measurements. It has to be mounted within a specific height range. Okay. So we have what we call a 2 meter version and a 1 meter version. And it's just a matter of where you're going to be mounting it. Helps you decide on which one you need. But what you're getting out of it, like I told you before, this is kind of what you are interested in, is your surface conditions. So it's going to let you know whether it's dry, wet, icy. I got wet in there twice. Snow, chemically wet. And I think a good thing for you guys, which what you're just saying right now, is that you went home without any snow and you had to get back out there and treat. Chemically wet's a good option, or a good measurement parameter. What it's letting you know is when your roads are at a freezing point, where ice should be forming, but there's no ice forming. So it means that your treatment is still doing its job. This is going to help a lot with budgets, with salt budgets, or what do you guys use, Dom, to treat your roadways? Is it just salt, or do you guys use anything else?
Right now it's the rock salt, but we may move to the liquid de-icer. Right now the liquid de-icer for the devices for the trucks a little bit pricey, so we're just up in the air right now.
Okay. Well, what MARWIS can do, which is really good, this is what Denver International Airport is using outside of their and the roads coming in. They were running out of salt. They were running out of stuff to treat roads. And what chemically wet is telling you, when you're looking at a map and you see it's maybe a whole highway, a whole stretch that's chemically wet, it's saying, the road is 31 degrees and there's moisture in the air, it's raining. We should be getting, we should be out there treating, but the salt that's been previously dumped is still doing its job. There's no ice forming, and it allows you to actually look at it and make smart decisions on, should we go out and treat again or not? Or is if you over-treat, is it going to lead to more problems? So it'll help you with your salt budgets. It'll help you with knowing where the road's frozen, where it's not frozen, where's a critical spot to get out there. It's a pretty useful parameter, just one parameter, obviously. You're also going to get your surface temperature. You're going to get your friction values. Water film thickness up to 6 millimeters, so that's the dangerous range right there. When it's really little bit of amounts of water, you want to know what's going on. Your ice percentage, and then you get your standard dew point, temperature, humidity. So a lot of different parameters. I just have some images here, and then we'll get into the software, which I know was kind of what you were looking to see. Mm-hmm. This is a van out in Germany. Another truck at an airport in Europe. This is Connecticut DOT. They just put one on the front of their snowplow down here that you can see. Okay. So people are testing where they want to put it, what's important for them. Do they want to get the data, the weather data in front of the car before it's passing it? Do they want to have it when the car is driving over? So a lot of people have it mounted off the back, in the middle, and inside of the wheel lane, so that the exhaust isn't hitting it. Some people mount it over the side. It's really up. Here's actually CEI's one of their initial trucks from about 2 years ago, I believe, and when they had it mounted off the side here. So it's easy to mount, Dom. It's very easy to set up, configure. It's user-friendly. It's magnetically mounted with a safety leash, so you can take it on and off of a vehicle. It calibrates very easy, so it's calibrated to the height that it's mounted at. Okay. So it's a very user-friendly device. You're using, like I said, the easiest option is through an iPhone or an Android device or a tablet, and that acts as your RPU to send everything back to the server. So it's very, very easy to take care of. It's IP66. You can hose it off and clean it when you're done. There's no moving parts. You're not going to have a lot of issues with things getting inside, and it's a very durable. They really built it to be a robust piece of hardware. And then whenever we make improvements via software or firmware, the updates happen remotely through the phone, so you don't have to send it back when there's been a change made to the logarithm for water film or whatever. It's we try to make it so that you buy it, It's easy to use. You can get out there and use it over and over again, and really help you to make maintenance, related decisions without having to ship it back for maintenance, without having to ship it back as parts are breaking. We want it to be able to sit out there in the middle of a winter for 3,000 miles on the road while it's snowing and not have issues and breakdowns.
Okay.
Just some more images of it mounted on different vehicles around the country here. And so that's our MARWIS device in a nutshell. That's the basics of it. And I know that the software is important, the camera images are important, so I want to send it over to Laura. She has up, I believe, some trips that we can show you the software side of it.
Okay. I have a quick question.
Yep. Any questions on this first? Sorry.
So for the you said either iPhone or tablet. Is there a way to because right now we have a command center and we have like 3 big monitors that I use for my GPS, use for my security camera. So for this device, will I be able to plug it into that, like by getting a I guess a MacBook, or do I need to get a special computer for that?
Yeah, let me show you here something. I got a perfect presentation. So all of the data, yes. There's 2 different things you'll view when you're in the vehicle. When you have the phone or a tablet in the vehicle, it's just giving you. Let me just find here.
Okay.
Let me find something real quick, and I'll show you. It's it'll explain it a little bit.
Okay, no problem.
Hold this up first. Where is it? Any other questions as I search for this as we go on? Or I'll let you talk.
Can I help you find it?
No, I know where it's at. If there's any questions as I search here, feel free to.
He's trying to find something that shows how that configuration works so that it's a little more clear. Because locally, the sensor's obviously collecting data, and then in the cab of the vehicle, you can look at the data directly, and then that data is transmitted back to a server so that you can look at it in your command center remotely.
Oh, okay.
And there's a really nice image that kind of shows how all that works, so it makes a little more sense. So some people choose not to use the local display in the cab of the vehicle. Some people just want the information sent back. It's up to you guys on how you use it.
Yeah, we'll definitely have it in the vehicle also, because I have a secondary A driver, so the driver won't be distracted. But in the lieu of that, we can always have someone at the command center say, hey, this is a flood area. Let me send someone to this place. You know what I mean? So
Dom, if can you see my screen still?
Yep.
So this is what you would see in the car. So the sensor itself is connecting to any iOS or Android with Bluetooth, and this is a free app. So in the cab, you're going to be able to see these conditions in real time, and these are changing. They're fluctuating. You can put which ones you want to be up top. You can add ambient temperature if that's important to you. So these are configurable. This is your server Bluetooth connection and your signal strength, and you're going to get a map of road conditions. So icy is red. Okay. So this is what the driver has, and so it's a stripped down, simple kind of display of just what's going on right now as we're driving. Well, this is all being sent back here. You can see wrong one. Let me get to the right one. Where's the one with the? Let me delete that. No, there it is. So this is getting transmitted here to your tablet. This is the tablet itself is sending the data to the cloud.
Okay.
And then this is going back into this is where you would be in your command center on your big screen here.
Okay.
And then this software, which is what we're going to show you right now, this is the one where you have all the stuff where you can do playback. You can look 3 weeks ago and see, why is there a pothole here now? What was the camera image from a month ago here? And was it still there? See how fast things are developing, see if it's a problem area. This allows you to view 12 of these sensors at the same time. You can see all of them driving. You can see the whole city in one snapshot. So these are both going on simultaneously. This one's giving you real time and sending it to your cloud and storing all the data here. So you do have both of those. You do have both. So there is an option if you don't want to have tablets or phones in the car where you have a modem instead. This is transmitting the data to your back-end software as well. It's just an easy way if you have these to put these in here to be able to see both datas. But this is, you know, if you have phones, if your drivers have their devices, the app's free. So this part's taken out of the equation as far as the final solution cost. And then you have, you know, your software back here, which is going to be displaying everything. And Laura, I'll pass it to you now if you have the software up, and we can take a look at it.
Sure.
All right.
Dominique, does that make sense?
Oh, it makes perfect sense.
Okay. I know it's a little bit new.
Mm-hmm.
So, hopefully you guys are looking at this screen of Viewmondo.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
And so that image you're seeing there, Dom, is just straight from the phone. It's you know, you can buy a windshield mount essentially that's, you know, suction cupped into the windshield. This is what North Dakota just purchased several of these, the DOT, for use, and you can mount. This is just mounted in Laura's car, I believe, and it's taking Laura's not pushing any buttons in it. It's taking these images automatically for her, and it's matching it up with the drive as you go. So.
So I think we're in the same weather pattern that you have up here.
This is like 2 hours ago.
We're supposed to get 10 inches of snow. So I know that you were interested in the camera images, so I turned the interval down so that it would take a camera image every 2 seconds.
Okay.
So that's why you're seeing that change so fast, and I've got it on play so that we're watching. We're watching this drive. Pardon? Make it a little bigger.
You can obviously you can make the image of the camera bigger because camera images are important to them. So you can enlarge that too, so you can see your drive. And that's just the camera image. The left side, show them all the bells and whistles over there as well.
Yeah. So so again, this is obviously I took this drive this morning. And I named this drive. I named it Sugar Snow because this means that the maple syrup is happening today. And I've got 2-second photos and I've got 1 second transmission intervals. So this means every second I'm sending the data back to the left server. And you can see, as Eric talked about before, that it will fluctuate a little bit as you're driving along the road. But you can see what's happening. This is actually on the dirt road right now, and I was just driving around the block to figure out what's going on. And obviously this makes a trail on the map that we're watching. Right now I got it set to road condition, but if surface temperature is more important to you, you can have the trail change color and go to a surface temperature color.
Okay.
I'm going to stop this play for a second so that I can show you another thing here. So you can see that I've taken some different drives to try to get some data, and you can go back in time to select that drive and it'll bring up what happened on that drive. I think I even have one on my last trip to Maryland. And you can see that you can name them. New Jersey, that's getting close. I bet it was around here.
And this would be good, Dom, because you can name it. If you're looking at road conditions and potholes and where issues are forming, you can name it, to remind yourself to look back at that area in 2 months or 3 months to see if it's getting worse or getting better, or what's causing that area to have issues. So you can name it March Drive at whatever location.
Yeah.
Just to give yourself a reminder of, hey, let's look back here and how do we find that trip specifically, and you can name it, which is nice.
That is a great feature.
Yeah. So one of the things that I went up actually in the mountains today to try to get some snow and icy conditions, because that's obviously the main reason why people use this. And I turned it back to road conditions so that you can see down here in the lowlands it was dry, damp, but as I went up the mountain road, you can see that it's ice and critical. You can just see that really quickly at a glance, and you can click on the data here anywhere on the map to give you a specific look. You can zoom in to say, hey, I know there's a bridge there. What was that temperature? So that you can get a real good idea of what's happening here at Quaker Street intersection. You know, what's going on right there, and it'll give you that information, and then the camera image that's closest to that spot on time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very valuable information.
Yeah, and so you can also look at it. That's kind of like the map view, and obviously it's really easy to look in on the map view and see where things are at. You can also go over to the diagrams page to be able to see it graphically, which is helpful, especially if you're analyzing a storm kind of after the fact. And we'll bring that up here. It's thinking about it. Do you have any questions on that while my...
I don't have any questions right now.
Okay. These dials and indicators also are kind of a quick at a glance to tell you, you know, where you are on your different parameters.
Okay.
So you can see I had an exciting trip with a ton of data because I was sending back 1 second intervals. So you can see that you can see that it's very busy. So what you can do here, you can say, hey, there's a ton of data, 1 second data, what happened right between 9:10 and 9:15, and zoom in, and then on any of these points you can look at what's happening. If you want to even make it, let's say dew point's not that concerning to you, you can click on dew point and take it off the graph. We know that it's wet, so we can take water film height off. And let's say all we're interested is right now is the surface temperature. You can just look at that one graph and kind of see how it's bouncing around. You know, you can see we're really close to freezing, right around freezing today.
Right.
And then you can add them back as you want. And then you can also reset the zoom to get back to the whole drive that I took. And you can do the same thing with a road condition here, you know, to be able to zoom in to see. But this is I think, a great example of the sensor changing conditions over time and how easy and logical it is to read. Green is dry, light blue is damp, dark blue is wet, red is ice or snow critical. And this 1-4 here is where it was snow, ice covered. So it's kind of nice to be able to see that. And then obviously the table form, which is what I really like. And you can see that, again, I've got it sending back 1 second intervals, which is really, typically people do 10 seconds. This is a lot of data to get back, and you can see as it's changing per second. The other thing that I will say with this is to be able to look back at the history and see what happened here is really nice, so that you can kind of get an idea for what's going to happen. I mentioned that I was on a mountain road. There's no cell service on that mountain road, and what happens is the data from the sensor gets collected in the iPad, and then when I came back into cell phone service, all the data was transmitted.
Oh, okay. So you don't lose any data.
You don't lose data. Yep. If you lose cell connection, it'll store it for a couple hours, as much as it can handle, and then it'll transmit it all once that connection is made again.
Oh, okay.
So I know you can't really see this, but this road that I was driving on goes over to the Sugarbush Airport. Sugarbush is a snow mountain over in Warren, a ski hill over in Warren. So there's no cell service up there at all. But you can see I drove up, I turned around, and drove back.
You pull the menu up on the left, so you can show them where there's multiple sensors. If you
And so if you have multiple sensors, FJ, do you think it would be okay to look at the MARWISs from Maryland?
Of course.
Okay, I saw they were out and about this morning. So here is one MARWIS, and again, they've got they're working with their photos too, but we can see what's happening. Well, it actually, when it's parked, you can see where this one is physically in the state, just to give you an idea that we're in the snow belt here by West Virginia. It's not looking like great visibility there at all. So the same thing, what we were doing here, I can click along here and see, I can hit the play button to watch it kind of go through. It's going to want to start at the beginning. And then you can also look at the history of their drives by just the drop-down menu.
Mm-hmm.
And they've renamed a couple of them. First Trip Home, Jared must have done that. So we can
if you have multiple though, Dom, you can look at all of them at the same time. So you can
Mhm.
see all 10 of your sensors driving on the same map, which is nice.
Wow.
So there you go. There's a good example. And if you have a stationary site too, we incorporate that. You see that on the far right. That's a non-moving, that's a fixed MARWIS station.
Okay.
So we can put both of them. So we do have technology, like you were asking about forecasting. We have, non-invasive sensors that are permanently fixed on, poles and bridges. It'll do a lot of the similar stuff too if you have a specific problem area. Just so you know, we have sensors, all sorts of them. I know MARWIS is the focus today, but this just shows you can have a little bit of everything if you want on the map.
All right.
So I'm just double clicking to get in a little bit closer to this one, because one thing I noticed here is this car is green, which means it was recently connected. So I was just looking at the timestamp. That one is 7:42 this morning. He was out and about. It definitely does not look like a good day there for everybody. The other thing that we can do, there's a critical spots feature, and this takes all the history of all the drives. Let me zoom out a little bit
Might
here.
be something you really like, just based on the fact that we're looking at problem areas in the city and issue areas where you constantly have bad weather and snow and ice building up. It's a pretty cool feature.
So anytime that the road condition was icy, it'll add basically a red dot, so you can see kind of the trouble spots here. And once they get a couple of these routes, it'll start to take all that data. So you can see that maybe this is the shadowed hill here or something, but this on these areas is where they're getting more ice reporting over the drives that they've taken.
Oh, that's some great data.
Over the course of a year, if you have 10 vehicles, every time it passes one, it drops a pin. So it just keeps dropping that pin, and then that pin gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you can look back and say, hey, and I would be interested to see, potholes are an issue. I'd be interested to see if potholes are forming where these critical spots are forming. If there's something that's triggering them to occur in places more often than other places.
Right.
It's a cool little study to see.
So just zooming in on that one red area that I was looking at, it looks like that's their pull-off. So
Get treated.
Yep. So that's why that turned out red. So you can see that it works.
That's really cool.
Yep. So that's kind of a neat. That's the critical spots. And then Eric mentioned that you can add fixed stations as well on Viewmondo. And then this is the table that shows kind of everything together, what's happening. You can see if your MARWIS was recently connected or not. While we're looking at this, is there any questions that you have, Dominique? Anywhere that you want me to go?
I don't have any questions at this point.
Cool.
Okay. FJ, did I miss something that would be an interesting thing that your customers have found?
No, Laura. I think for the MARWIS, you've covered it very well, as you indicated. Both Maryland State Highway and Transportation Authority use a variety of devices, both full-blown fixed weather stations, the non-invasive weather stations. That there's quite a few deployed in critical areas, and we have a new deployment of the StarWIS, but we really haven't gotten any data back from that one yet. But I think you covered it very well.
And StarWIS, just so you know, I think that's something that would be of interest to beyond MARWIS. StarWIS is It's the similar size device. It looks like MARWIS, but it's a stationary version of it. And it can be mounted at up to 20 feet. So you have a small footprint. It doesn't require a lot of power, and it's going to give you a lot of these road conditions as well for a fixed location. So if you have an area that's constantly a problem, you can install one of these there. And if you have the right setup, it can trigger alarms. It can text you when it gets to be icy. We do have the ability to put in these alarms and triggers, and it can turn on a flashing beacon sign if you want to say, hey, this bridge is icy, be careful. And it takes a lot of that out of your hands, so it's not manual. You don't have to wake up in the middle of the night to see if a bridge is iced over. If it hits a critical spot, we can turn on flashing signs or whatever. So the opportunities are endless. I think MARWIS is a great starting point here, and I think it's covering the things that you were looking for. But like FJ said, they have experience with the whole range of lift sensors, and they've put more of them in a single state, I think, than anyone out there. So it's a great opportunity for you to work with them on this project for sure.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's it. Any questions or any comments? I'll follow up after this with the emails of everyone and some of this data. I think Laura may have a login. Dominic, if you wanted to check this out and show other people, I think we have one that's kind of like a demo that you can play around in.
Sure, definitely.
So Laura will get him that over as well.
Okay.
Anyways.
You have a beautiful state.
Oh, thank you.
Some cool pictures. I'm looking at them too as you go.
So
I'm sorry, Laura.
Dominic, just to make sure you understand, FJ is there locally, and CI has definitely some awesome technicians that we work with on setting this equipment up. So you've got somebody locally that can be that support, which is great.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah. So just to make that connection for you.
Okay.
FJ, do you have something?
Yes, I just wanted to let Dominic know that if his team chooses to move forward, we do have the Luft equipment under state contract, under the hardware contract, because I know sometimes you always at the end of the day have to deal with procurement. So
right.
there is a vehicle in place that I believe your team can use.
Oh, okay. That is great information right there.
Yeah, thank you for that, FJ. That's very helpful all around. So yeah, any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, we will pass this info on. I'll get everyone's contact info, shared, and we'll send some of this info over to you, Dominic, and then FJ. You guys both let us know. We can support you however need be, and what steps are next. And Laura and I are always available.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. I'll pass this stuff on today, and like I said, feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions.
All right. Thanks for meeting, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yep,
Bye.
thanks, FJ.